ITV Showcase Drama, sponsored by Skipton Building Society.
And now with all the latest from around the world and here at home, it's the ITV News.
A major incident is declared in Scotland as Storm Garrett strikes the UK. Thousands are left without power, with post-Christmas journeys disrupted as bad weather hits road, rail and air travel. We have all the details. Also tonight. More than 21,000 are now dead in Gaza. Israel focuses its offensive towards the centre of the Strip. Climate change causing chaos for nature, how warmer temperatures are upsetting the once regular rhythms of the British seasons. And the story of one of the worst miscarriages of justice in British history comes to the small screen.
This is ITV News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. At least 18,000 homes are without power in Scotland tonight after Storm Garrett hit with gusts of 80 miles an hour. A major incident was declared as blizzard conditions left drivers stranded in their cars. Across the country, planes and trains were cancelled on one of the busiest travel days of the year. Flood alerts and weather warnings remain in place tonight. Our North of England reporter Kelly Foran has more.
As you can see, we are stuck on the A9. Looks like we might be here for the night.
A white Christmas might look pretty, but not so much when you're stranded in it.
We've been here for 3 hours now, stuck in the snow, along with hundreds of other vehicles by the look of it, stretching back to Aviemore in that direction.
Here on the A9 in Scotland, a major incident declared as drivers unable to move.
We've had a knock on the window from the police. That was about 2-3 hours ago, and they just said, well, we're stuck as well, so we've got nothing to tell you. And at that point the ploughs were stuck, but luckily enough it looks like the ploughs are actually now starting to move, so we've got one just coming past us now, or to right towards us in fact. Wow. So I'm hoping that he's going to clear the way for us, and then we're going to be able to do a U-turn and start heading north.
And it's not just snow. In Fife this afternoon, residents rescued from their flooded homes. A series of Met Office yellow weather warnings for snow, wind and rain are in place until tomorrow morning. Strong gusts have been bringing down trees, some onto power lines. Thousands of homes across the country without electricity, including in the Peak District. Here in Chapel on the Thrift, almost 600 homes have had power cuts over the last day or so. Electricity North West say they are on standby and expecting more of the same as the night goes on.
So the wind can cause some serious problems for the overhead line network, where you get windborne debris or trees and branches knocking into overhead lines. When there's really strong winds, it can prevent the overhead lines teams from climbing, which can cause a little bit of a delay, but we'll make sure that we do it as safely and as quickly as possible to get people back on.
Electricity North West have extra staff on standby as conditions are expected to worsen. Storm Garrett is the fourth major weather incident in as many weeks. In Bournemouth today, a walk by the seaside, brisk to say the least. Flights have been cancelled, roads closed, and there's been disruption to trains too, with more flooding and damage expected overnight. Kelly Foran, ITV News.
Christmas has not brought any let-up in the Israel-Gaza war, with the Hamas-run health ministry reporting that the Palestinian death toll has now passed 21,000 since the attacks on October the 7th. Israel says the war is far from over. Mark McQuillan reports.
In southern Gaza earlier, yet more desperate scenes. Casualties brought here to a hospital in the city of Khan Yunis, following heavy strikes from Israel overnight. This woman is anxiously waiting for news about her son. He went out to get flour, she says. It was a journey that would end in tragedy. Her son, Mahmoud, did not make it. One of more than 200 to have been killed in the space of just 24 hours. And Israel shows no sign of slowing down. The offensive continues as it aims to crush Hamas in response to their attack in southern Israel in October, which killed around 1,200. The human cost is huge. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 21,000 civilians have been killed, including many women and children. What is happening to the Palestinian people, says Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, is horrific, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank and Jerusalem in the last 79 days. In Khan Yunis, the Nasser hospital continues to treat casualties under unimaginable strain. The situation is perilous and shows no signs of abating despite international pressure, with Israel warning this war could continue for many more months. Mark McQuillan, ITV News.
Here, Downing Street has announced the spring budget will take place on March the 6th next year, earlier than expected. Our political correspondent Harry Horton is here. So go on, Harry, does this mean that we're heading for an early election?
Well, it opens the door to the possibility of an election in the spring. This budget is likely to be the last big chance the Conservative Party have got to make changes to the tax code before the next election. And it's the earliest budget we've seen, other than in the pandemic, since the Conservatives came to power in 2010. So that all points to the possibility of an election in May, possibly even April. But the consensus in Westminster, and if you speak to people close to Rishi Sunak, they very much think it's more likely to be in the autumn. And that is because many Conservative MPs want to see big tax cuts in this budget. And they want to see time given for voters to feel the impact of any potential tax cuts. So that points towards an election that's much more likely in the autumn, October or November time. But I think the truth is, whenever the election is held, the campaigning has essentially already started. And I think in the new year, we will see that campaigning by Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer intensify quite significantly. OK,
Harry Horton, thank you. The former European Commission President, Shak Delore, has died at the age of 98. The Frenchman remains the longest-serving holder of the title, his presidency lasting a decade from 1985 to 95. A passionate exponent of European federalism, he oversaw the creation of the single market in 1993 and provoked widespread consternation among UK Eurosceptics. With shorter winters and hotter summers becoming all too familiar, conservationists fear the UK's natural environment could change beyond recognition. The National Trust says we should all be taking a lot more notice of shifting weather patterns, as Alex Izzat found out.
Much of the UK faced another mild December, with Christmas Eve recorded as the warmest in 26 years. Shorter winters are becoming more regular, as are hotter summers. Nature is trying to adapt, but irregular and unpredictable weather is causing chaos for wildlife.
We're seeing changes to the timings of kind of nature's calendar, really. And so, although the plants are starting to burst into leaf and into flower, that's before the insects, for example, and other animals who are dependent on them are hatching. We're facing into a nature and climate crisis, and we need to take action now. And we are doing that across our estate to try to adapt to climate change and restore nature.
Scientists agree it's not too late to restore the balance. Places such as Northern Ireland are helping the ecosystem.
Improved habitats along the coastline has seen an increase in bird populations, and some are even staying longer before flying south for the winter.
Although in other areas of the UK, changes in behaviour caused by extreme weather has put pressure on breeding grounds and food supplies.
We're seeing, through things like increased storminess, significant erosion, but also we're seeing sea temperatures rising, and that has a real impact on seabirds who are now having to travel further to find their food. Everybody's got a role to play. It doesn't matter how small.
Nature has a rhythm, and as we see more seasonal shifts, the tempo is changing. Helping wildlife, even through small actions, could be the key for survival. Alex Izzat, ITV News.
In the Premier League, champions Manchester City have closed the gap on leaders Liverpool to 5 points. The newly crowned club world champions came from behind to win 3-1 at Everton. Phil Foden equalised for City before Argentina's Julian Alvarez scored a penalty and Bernardo Silva scored City's third goal. Victory means they climb to 4th place. Chelsea, meanwhile, improved their excellent night on the road for Wolves, who scored 3 times in the first half at Brentford and went on to win 4-1. And finally, hundreds of postal workers who've been fighting for justice are the subject of a new TV drama. Mr Bates versus the Post Office tells the story of how an IT glitch led to the Horizon scandal. Our entertainment reporter Rishi Davda has more.
It says I've taken £2,032.67 more than I think I have.
Often described as one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history, the Post Office scandal robbed people of their livelihoods and changed their lives forever.
It must be a bug.
Around 700 sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses were wrongly prosecuted, some even jailed, after faulty accounting system Horizon created massive financial discrepancies.
The computer system Post Office spent an arm and a leg on.
Mr Bates versus the Post Office is a new series that tells the real story of sub-postmaster Alan Bates, who alongside others fought to prove his innocence.
Fraud itself is quite a tricky crime for people to key straight into. So I'm kind of ashamed of how little I did know about it at the time, and hopefully putting it into dramatic form will help people to appreciate just how these very normal, regular lives were completely upended.
The scandal started when the system was first introduced back in 1999. The drama, which is out on ITV next week, details a journey to justice which is still ongoing.
What I really hope people come away feeling is a sense of the urgency about accountability, because that's something that's diminishing. That's kind of depressing and upsetting.
Though tireless campaigning and multiple court cases has led to some convictions being overturned and the promise of significant compensation, meaningful progress has been slow.
Not one of the 500 and so brought the original case has received full financial redress. And despite promises by ministers, they wanted the majority of cases to be resolved by now. And not one has been totally resolved.
We're all here for the meeting.
Many sub-postmasters were led to believe they were alone in their accounting woes. But there were similar stories across the country. Individuals that later banded together to take on the Post Office. Rishi Davda, ITV News.
And that's it for now. From all of the team here, good night.
It's a cold and wet outlook with some heavy downpours throughout the day. Heinz Big Soup sponsors ITV National Weather.